didn't take long to conquer the Americas, except for the very bottom part of South America, which was a Mapuche land, both in Chile and Argentina. They spent more resources, more people, and more time trying to conquer that piece than the rest of all of the Americas. And they're still fighting. So, did they conquer it?
Welcome
To another episode
of Driving to the Res and
Wisdom Keeper Hour.
Right On,
which is our second part for all our supporters, but also to expand and build upon all the conversations we bring on the first hour. We have our panelists, experts, wisdom keepers to discuss things with on that second hour. Only $8 a month. So get in there, subscribe, and join the conversation.
drivingtotheres.com.
Yes.
Easy enough to find. Now let's get to our show. This mystical implications of owning land.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you like reading, you can read the article.
Yes.
Or you can just listen to us. We'll read it to you and expand on it a little bit.
Yeah.
So begin, honey.
All right. So, my name is Inelia Benz, and I write stuff. Okay, I'm a wisdom keeper from the Mapuche lineage and two Spanish lineages. So, I like to write and tell stories too, and impart wisdoms that way too. So, I'm going to share a little bit about one of those lineages in this article. Let's begin. I speak extensively on the mystical and energetic implications of land ownership in my class Selling and Buying Real Estate. In this article, I want to concentrate on how the connection or lack of to the land the person is living on affects their ability or power to independently create their reality. Do you want to add anything else to that, Tiny?
Well, I think one of the key words there was independently.
Mm-hmm.
Their power to independently create their reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's an individual, right? A person.
Right, because I can imagine there's people who are of groups creating realities, and the group owners maybe owns the land or owns the.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and in that class that I have at ineliabenz.com, you will find all about that mechanics of group ownership and how to manage group ownership to get what you want out of life. Right? It basically empowers the person or the group. But if you have, like in a group, you have, let's say, a couple own the land and they have different goals in life, then it's going to clash because they're both getting more and more powerful as time goes by. The longer you stay there in that land that you own, the more powerful you become, but so do your co-creators in that land. So it was always a good idea to own land with people that you have the same goals, and then the power that comes from owning that land won't clash with each other at a group level. All right, so as I'm limited to the word count of an article, this exploration will focus on the implications to people who are displaced from their place of power.
We were reading about seeing a lot of that on the news lately.
Yeah.
The threats to displace people. And I mean, our tribes in the Americas, I'm sure Europe too, have gone through a long history of being displaced. And when I say tribes, I mean groups of people, right? Yeah. Tribes as you might think of tribes, but they can call them clans, they can call them ethnic groups, religious groups, when they become displaced from their land.
Yes. Yeah. To begin with, I want to point out that the birthplace of the person is not necessarily the most resonant or powerful location for them to live at.
I wonder about that because I've never even been to where I was born.
Right.
I mean, I've been there when I was born there.
Yes.
But I haven't been back since.
Although sometimes it is.
Should go check it out. That'd be a fun after party exploration.
Yeah. Yeah. I also want to point out that a cultural or religious affiliation to a particular strip of land does not always directly reflect on the power of the individuals within that land, whether positively or negatively. There's no hard and fast rule about this at an individual level. So, if let's say you are Jewish and you go to Israel, right? It doesn't mean that just because you're Jewish and you're in Israel, your individual power is going to become amplified.
I see.
If there's a plot of land in Israel that you buy and you stay there for several years, then yes, you will, but not because you're Jewish. Do you see the connection there?
Kind of. So what if you're, as a group, Jewish, then owning their land at that location? Yes.
Well, the group dynamic, I'm not going
Different?
to, yeah, it's very different.
We'll talk about that differently.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
but
I was
at
born
an
in Chile,
individual level.
right?
Okay.
I was born in Chile, and therefore I belong to a group called Chileans, right? There's Chilean people live in Chile, most of them. But even when I was very small, I wasn't connected to that land. It's beautiful. It's amazingly gorgeous. But I never had that energy of that land made me powerful. Even though at some point I owned a ranch there, even the ranch kind of ejected me. So it's like just because you're part of a group of people or just because you're born somewhere doesn't mean that that's the land that you're going to be the most powerful or connected with.
Got it.
Okay. So last week I spoke about lineages. One of those lineages, the Machi, who are the wisdom keepers of the Mapuche tribes, are fully aware of the link between the power of the Machi and the land they live on, their base or home. The belief is that if you move the Machi out of their land, they won't survive 6 months and will die.
So if you're a Machi, then I think it doesn't matter, independent or not, you got to stay there, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. They have a name for that piece of land, you know, that the Machi has. And if you move away from that, then they die. Yeah. I mean, they do move sometimes, but they move the entire energy and everything into the new place and then they stay there, knowing that by doing that, they sever a lot of their power and they have to build it again. Right? All right.
Do you think they literally die if they move?
Well, I haven't looked at the evidence, but I know that this argument was used in court once when one of the Machis was arrested for, I can't remember what he was doing, but he was arrested and taken to jail to a different city, and they used this argument in court because it's not like an unknown Machi law, you know?
Right.
Or construct of reality. And I don't know if he lived or died. I never found out. It's very difficult to find any type of information about the Mapuche tribes and the Machi prisoners of war. They're still at war.
Still in the middle of it?
They're still not in the middle, but they're still at war. Throughout my life, I rarely stayed in one place longer than a couple of years. Until I was in my late 30s, the longer I had lived in a place was the house I had been born in, where I lived until I was 7, and had constantly asked my parents, when are we moving? In my late 30s and early 40s, I managed to stay in the same house for about 9 years. Since then, I have gone back to the pattern of moving constantly. Lara and I have lived in our latest home for 2.5 years now, and that's the longest we've stayed in one place during the 11 years we have been together.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't. Boat. How long did we live on the boat, you think?
Well, the boat isn't land, but yeah,
years?
Yeah, maybe a couple of years.
And then we lived at the Salmon Shack for a couple of years. And we lived in a cabin on the beach for a couple of months.
Yes.
And we didn't live in my RV at all.
Ever.
And we stayed at my dad's for a few
Months. Weeks, I think.
couple of weeks. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember where we lived. Oh, we went to Boat. Then we went to Shaman Shack. Then we went to the Palace.
Uh-huh.
And then we went to the Hill House.
Yeah. Yes. This is particularly interesting because in my 20s, I learned that the longer I stayed in one location, and this was true for my sister also and other mystics, the more able and capable we were to affect the reality of that location, including our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more powerful we became. So the longer we stayed in a place, the more powerful we became. It was quite amazing, actually. At some point, I was nearing the end of the 2 years where I stayed in the family home in Chile, the mother house. And I remember one day I thought I'd like to start Taekwondo again. And I want my kids to start Taekwondo because they hadn't done it, right? And instantly, like within a day, a whole dojo moved down the street from me.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And the funny thing is I had visited them like when I thought it, and they were on the other side of the city. And I thought, the sensei is great. The dojo and the students are fantastic, but that's way too long for me to be traveling to the other side of the city every day. So, not every day, but like whatever times a week that the classes were on. And then the next thing I know, one of them knocks on my door. We're down the street now, literally half a block away.
Nice.
Yeah. I thought, and I calculated, it's more than 2 years, or just coming up to 2 years, or whatever it was, So, but that was like really quick. And same with my sister. She started figuring it out and seeing it as when you see the evidence is very different to when you hear about it, right? You hear about it and it's fine, but when you start seeing the evidence of it, then that's very different, very different. All right. The connection to power and influence increases not just the longer we live in a place, but also if we actually own the place we live at. One might say that I have continuously limited my power, but that is a different discussion, which we will cover with our subscribers only Wisdom Keepers hour at drivingtotherest.com. Because this is public, and some of the things that I like to share with our other Wisdom Keepers are not to be shared with the general public.
Right. For a variety of reasons, which we can talk about in the second hour. Mm-hmm. That'd probably be a good question.
Yeah.
Why are there things that you don't share with the general public? That's
right.
Something we should explore.
Yeah. Most wars happen to conquer land or land resources. When a group of people are conquered, often the first thing that happens is a push to displace them, either by removing them from the land or relocating them somewhere else, or simply killing them off. Individual mystic power acquired from owning the land becomes severed by the conquering new claimant. They claim the power and owners of it all. Yes. They claim the power as owners of it all, sir.
Kind of lost that sentence. Can you do that sentence again?
Mm-hmm. Most wars happen to conquer land or land resources.
Right.
When a group of people are conquered, often the first thing that happens is a push to displace them.
Sort of like here in the U.S., they displaced the tribes and moved them to reservations that aren't attached to even the land that they grew up on. They're just, here, go way over there.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Yeah. You got it. So either
by removing them from the land or
simply killing them
just killing them off, mm-hmm. which I think the killing them off is probably high on the list of preferred ways.
Yeah, and often the first people they kill off are the shamans, the wisdom keepers of the location there, or the tribe, or the people.
Individual mystic power accrued from owning the land becomes severed by the conquering new claimant. So the land that they owned gets claimed by the conqueror. So now that power goes to the conqueror.
Yeah.
And the old mystic, you just lose your power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not all
Even
of
if you
it.
don't recognize their claim, you still fight it.
Well,
I mean, how does what you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I claim your land as mine, and therefore it is.
mm-hmm.
Isn't necessarily true. How do you claim land?
Well, it does have the agreement of the conquered people.
The conquered people have to agree.
They do. They agree.
Even at an individual level, it doesn't matter. Because I mean, there's probably you remember the holdouts, like the Japanese soldiers in the middle of the war, stay in the war for 40 years and never surrender, and things like that. Have you heard those stories?
They weren't the owners of that land. Right?
No, but I mean, I'm sure there were mystics who never accepted the claims. Like the Alaska Natives never accepted the settlement thingy that claims that the government owned the land, and they never signed a treaty giving it away, things like that. I'm just wondering, at what point does the claiming magically, mystically become it's not your land anymore because somebody else claims it?
Yeah. I think that generally speaking, if you go to the tribes, you'll find that all of them agree with it.
Yeah. How
So we
about
don't have an example, a real life example of people saying, no, you can't have this, right?
I think there are some around the world, more in the New Zealand tribes and the Mapuche, right? They didn't give it up, did they?
Nope, they did not. And that's why some of the matches are freaking powerful.
I could go. Yeah, that's my point. Even though Chile is claiming it, Mapuche haven't given it,
They're claiming it and they refused
and Argentina.
reservations and all that. Yeah. And what they've been doing is what they've been doing was to start buying the land, right? So that they were the owners. And then it was like a tribal owned, but individuals own the pieces, right?
Right.
I think that's the last part of it. And then they made it illegal for native Mapuches to own land. So they couldn't buy their land, you know? So yeah, it's still at war. There's still a war there.
So it's a little bit fuzzy and gray, the who owns the land, or is it
Not for them.
absolutely certain?
Well,
I mean,
they're absolutely certain that they own the land.
but so is Chile, right? And Argentina.
They tried to impose things and they've tried to move people, and that's why there's so much blood and prisoners. They haven't been able to completely get rid of them.
Okay. Just trying to clear up who is the authority?
Some of the Mapuche tribes have been annihilated and destroyed, but not all of them.
Right. I guess what I'm asking is who's the ultimate authority on the land is owned by you or you or you or whatever, you know? So in the case of an individual in a tribe or in a group, and somebody takes and claims their land and they don't accept that claim, if the tribe accepts the claim, then it doesn't matter. It's the agreement of the tribe or the group or the clan or the.
I don't understand the question. Usually it's a
Who's
tribal thing.
How, at what point do you lose your power
When you move, according to the
from the
report,
land?
it's when they're moved out of that land, remember?
Right.
Then they
But
won't
I
last
also
6
have to
months.
own it.
Yes.
So if they own the land, they claim ownership of the land, and somebody else
Comes along
and says, it's my land, actually, I claim it
that's what
by
they've
the
been
sovereign
trying to
right of
do.
the king.
Yeah, that's what they've been trying to do.
I understand
But
that's
they
what they've been
haven't
trying to do.
succeeded in all of the tribes. Some of the tribes, yes, they succeeded, but not all of them.
So the ultimate authority, though, is an agreement of some form.
Yeah, but they don't agree. So it's not an ultimate authority. It's when you agree to it and then you moved out of there, right? Then that's when it happens.
Even if you disagree, but you got moved out of there or killed
Right.
there.
Right.
So, for instance, you own land and it gets repossessed.
Then it depends what you do, right?
What if you never leave?
Exactly. Then they can't.
Kick you off, right?
They'll try.
And they can or they can't.
Depends how much land they own, isn't it? How powerful they are. If they own an army and you're one person, You're not going to win, are you?
Not probably. Well, I guess there will be situations where, like, I think Fred has an example, one of the wisdom keepers of his family's land in Toronto, in Canada, where somebody squatted on it and claimed it, and then ended up they lost it.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't know if he totally agreed, but I guess his dad did or something.
Mm-hmm.
He can fill us in.
Yeah.
It's a tricky thing.
It is. Even here in the United States, if you own land, somebody builds something there that isn't you, and they stay there for longer than 20 years or something.
7 or 20 or 12 or something. I think it's different in every state.
Yeah. They own it.
Yeah. It's so bizarre.
But it shows you the energy lines of it, right?
A little bit, yeah.
So they claim the power as owners of it all. This is another topic worth exploring more in depth with the Wisdom Keepers, since an expanded understanding of victim-aggressor agreement and triggers precede a mature conversation on this hot topic. It's apparent in our current world, this conquering and claiming of lands, along with displacement and or killing of millions, is currently front and center around the planet. I wonder what you're talking about here.
It's Ukraine and Russia and Gaza and Israel. And
yes.
I think there's another one going on, isn't there?
God, probably. Wouldn't surprise me. And the silent ones like the Mapuche and the
Mapuche and the Chile and the
has been going on for decades. Hundreds of years, actually.
Right. And the giving it up through being educated, right? Mm-hmm. So like the tribes in the tribal times, they'd take the children and then teach them, stop them from their language, teach them a different language and a different history and a different religion. And then they would kind of like get in line and as a group, as they got older, become in control of the tribe and then agree to
all the things.
The brainwash. Yeah. Well, I don't call it, I guess it's not brainwash. It'd be like the new programming. So they would voluntarily become, well, Americans. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of funny, huh?
Yeah.
You can watch it and see how it's done. So they have lost their power as a tribe, but gained power as American.
Yeah, because of my background in the Mapuche tribes, when Macades happened the first time I was here, the first year, and I said to you, what is Macades about? And yeah. It's like, well, what is this about? And you said it's a celebration of becoming Americans and bringing the flag, the American flag into the res. And I'm like, you're celebrating that?
Said it's only an English woman could.
Like, what? You're celebrating?
You're celebrating being conquered?
What? Why?
Because we're proud to be American.
And all of the land, the Maca tribe land, is owned by the federal government, and it's just leased to the individual Maca Native Americans, so they don't even own it. So.
Yeah, but we claim it. It gets muddy.
You don't claim it.
I sure as hell do. I mean, individually. Where we are right now.
It's not part of the res. You do own this.
No, but we claim it.
Yeah.
We claim it. And we
used
own
to
it.
be.
And it's signed in our name. We own
it. Used to be.
This Agreed that I'm still
but
that.
It's not.
But I am still Macaw.
Yeah. And you claim.
So I claim this land, which was a part of our territory.
Yes.
By buying it.
Yes.
And owning it.
Yes. That is so true, but it's not in the res. It's not owned by the federal government.
That's true. I mean, ultimately, maybe, but ultimately it's claimed by the U.S., right?
No.
Yes.
Well, because of the land taxes and things?
Yeah, if we just stop paying taxes, it'll get repossessed.
Repossessed, yeah.
So that means someone else possesses it.
Yeah, so there is something else there that...
There's some way you can buy your land with a gold coin and they can't take it away from you?
Exactly.
Something like that.
Right.
Although we don't want to test it.
No.
Just...
We can do both.
We can buy a little plot and test it with a gold coin?
We can do it here, make the agreement and have that gold coin exchange hands with a contract and everything between two people and have the other. And then You're covered by the illusion of separation, but also covered at a real sense, physical sense.
Okay.
Okay. The link between the land and its people is powerful. One might question why people who have been on a piece of land for thousands of years are able to be conquered.
Yeah, no kidding. You'd think over thousands of years they'd have accrued some power.
And that is because of the agreement of the power over others paradigm experience.
Oh yeah, that pesky thing. Agreement.
The truncation of power is necessary to become a victim. And in this case, in a light dark reality, more powerful landholders can overwhelm less powerful landholders. Landholders. Simply, might makes right. It's not frequent that a small land holding individual or group overwhelms a larger one, although it is not unheard of. Think of the Spartans!
Yes. They overwhelmed them Persians, right? Of course, they don't have Sparta anymore.
Exactly, yeah. Agreements trump everything in our reality. Incidentally, when the conquering people don't displace the conquered by killing or moving them out, their hold on that land won't last long. In this case, we're talking about land management and social engineering plans that are hundreds of years in scope, sometimes thousands of years in the making. What do you think about that?
Aye. Aye.
So, for example, the conquistadors, right? The
Spanish
social engineering of moving European forces and powers off into the New World, what they call the New World, right? And they had a whole way of conquering that new land. Where did they get that information from? But they used it and it worked. They had, and I know that you probably know where they got it from, but it's like they knew to divide and conquer. So go into the land, divide the tribes that are in there, fight them against each other, and then take the head.
Yeah, it didn't
right?
take much poking to get them to, let's go.
Yeah. And also killing the wisdom keepers, displacing different tribes, putting them somewhere else, and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah.
So a little bit of information about the Mapuche tribes was that the Spaniards didn't take long to conquer the Americas, except for the very bottom part of South America, which was the Mapuche land, both in Chile and Argentina. They spent more resources, more people, and more time trying to conquer that piece than the rest of all of the Americas. And they're still fighting. So, did they conquer it? Kind of, yes, because then they brought the culture, the schools, and religion.
It's conquered it a different way.
Yeah. But there's still people fighting for their land down there, so.
Yeah, the whole land ownership part, it's always been a tricky one for me. I didn't even think loaning land was a reasonable thing to do, period, because in my vision, my thinking at the time was that it was an absurd thing to think that you, the whatever, own the land. And what do you do with the I own the land is like you can kick people off of it or whatever, It's like, how about I don't spend my time and attention there? I'll spend my time and attention on more important things.
Right.
Like the very unimportant things I spent my money on.
Beer?
Beer. We don't need land. We got beer instead.
Yes, there you go.
Like Noah. Remember that Noah movie?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Finish all of that stuff. And what is the most important thing? Grow some grapes so he can make some wine and pass out in the
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
Pass out.
So buying land and owning land, that's one of the things, right? So the largest landowner in America or the world, or I don't know, maybe it's America, happens to be a logger.
Okay.
He doesn't live on the land, but he definitely has a impact on that land.
Yeah, totally.
And he probably has a level of power. I saw a picture of him. One of the logger guys was having breakfast with him. Mm-hmm. And he's one of those kind of appears to be somewhat like a humble type dude. Mm-hmm. But he's old, like 80s. But he seems obviously to have some vigor. In his 80s, he's running around running a giant log. I mean, can you imagine running a logging company? Mm-hmm. You can't.
I can.
Like, you can't.
I can imagine running enormously huge companies that own a lot of land. It's not a stretch of my imagination.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about the organizational structure part. It's like the individuals and the people and the experience of trying to get a whole bunch of trucks and equipment with guys at 3:00 in the morning who are rough to go to work and, you know, do that stuff. It's like, that's a pretty big.
That's why you employ people who can do it.
Yeah, you got to have
good management.
People who can do it, good management. Either way, I mean, it's not an easy thing. So he clearly has some power.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's not a power that you know. Well, there's a Loch Ness monster in our lake again. Just went underwater. It was about. There it is. Just came up. See? Look over here. Over here. Is right there is about this long black, and it's bigger than. It's I don't know what it is because it's pretty big and it goes up and down underwater.
Could be a log.
Well, a log doesn't sink and then come up and swim around. I guess I'll take a look with my binoculars real quick.
But before we do,
what?
We can say bye-bye. You're in the middle of your recording now.
But I gotta look. Okay, I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it is out there in the second hour.
Okay. Bye. Bye.
Welcome, everybody, to the second half of Driving to the Res, the Wisdom Seeker Hour. Hi, Larry and Inelia.
Hello.
Hello, panelists.
Hello.
Hello. And we're here to bring this conversation a bit deeper. I'm Ashley Swale. I'm the CEO of iBenz Academy, iBenz Method Mentor, Corporate HR Leader, Mystic, and Yoga Teacher.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Kara Consigli. I'm an iBenz Method Mentor, teacher, consultant, entrepreneur, gamer, and mystic.
Hi, I'm Fred Guerin. I am an aerospace engineer, healer, dancer, pilot, past life regressionist, and student of the occult.
Hello, I'm Ileana Rojero. I'm a mystic mentor, psychic meditation teacher, architect, and founder of El Método iBenz, the official channel of Inelia's work in Spanish. Hi.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. And we're here to continue that conversation on mystical implications of owning land. So the first topic we want to cover, Inelia, you had said in the article, one might say that I have been consciously limiting my power, but that is a different discussion, which we will cover in our subscribers only Wisdom Seekers podcast. So here we are. It's your subscribers. Let's hear it.
Okay.
I wanted to go a little bit deeper on this in this Wisdom Keeper Hour because it is not just about land ownership, and it's not just me. Every single person that I've ever met on Earth, this kind of expression of Earth, has limited their power in many, many ways. And that is a necessary kind of dynamic that they have to do in order to have dark experiences or low frequency experiences, the experiences of power over others, enslavement, suffering, all of those things. Without those limits, it would be impossible for them to do it.
Join us for the rest of this conversation at driveintotheres.com.
And when you go to driveintotheres.com and you join in the rest of the show, rest of the second hour, you also get to join in the after party. 9:00 on Fridays, we all get together, including you.